Hello everyone, welcome to Full Moon Movies. Sorcerer is not a film about adventure, it is a film about fate. From the first frame, William Friedkin plunges us into a world where borders, identities, and moral codes actually collapse. This is a story of men who have already lost everything. They are not heroes in search of glory, but fugitives running from justice, war, and consequences. In The French Connection, Friedkin explored the illusion of control. In The Exorcist, he explored spiritual terror. But in Sorcerer, he strips away God, law, and redemption entirely. In fact, what remains is a man who is alone against a universe that does not care if he survives. Four men from four different countries, Roy Schneider as a desperate American, Bruno Kremer as a corrupt French banker, Amidao as a revolutionary from Jerusalem, Francisco Rabal as a Mexican assassin. They all end up hiding in a remote South American village that feels less like a refuge and more like purgatory. Now let's talk a bit about these character arcs. Through their arcs, Friedkin deconstructs the illusion of control and exposes the truth that what man defines destiny, destiny simply just awaits. Roy Scheider plays Jackie Scanlon, a getaway driver from New Jersey whose arrogance in a church leads to a death of innocent people. Forced to flee, he arrives in the South American village as a shell of a man, not longer chasing wealth, but running from memory. Scanlon's arc is one of denial. In America, he's believed he could actually manipulate the system, but in this jungle purgatory, he learns that no system even exists. His descent into madness during the final miles of the journey, when hallucination blur with reality, it reveals the core of Friedkin's message about escape is an illusion and fate travels with you. Victor Manzon, the French businessman played by Bruno Kremer, represents the downfall of European respectability. At the beginning, he's a man of wealth and influence, but when his fraudulent dealings are exposed, his identity actually evaporates overnight. In the village, he clings to his past dignity, wearing his suit even in the sweltering heat. His arc is tragic, a man who believes his integrity will protect him, only to find that fate does not negotiate with pride. His death is not cruel, but it's inevitable. Qasim, portrayed by Amido, begins as a revolutionary in Jerusalem, planting bombs in the name of ideology. But when betrayal forces him to flee, he arrives in the jungle stripped of purpose. His arc embodies the futility of ideology when faced with raw survival. In the truck, his former convictions are meaningless. Death is no longer an act of martyrdom. It is actually random. In his final moments, when he sacrifices himself to move a fallen tree from the road, he's not acting out of political belief, but out of primal recognition that another man's life must continue. In a film without heroes, this becomes the closest thing to grace. Last but not the least is Francisco Rabal's character Nilo, who is a hired assassin, a man who has made death his business. Emotionless, controlled, and lethal, he is the embodiment of pure existential resignation. He does not care if he lives or dies, he only cares about the contract. And yet, in the rarest moment of vulnerability, when his mortality is wounded, he chooses to remain in the truck with Scanlon, silently accepting his fate. His arc completes the film's thesis. Violence cannot conquer fate. Fate consumes violence. Together, these four men drive two trucks filled with unstable nitroglycerine through 200 miles of unforgiving jungle terrain. The trucks themselves become symbols of inevitability. They are like rolling cascades burdened not with explosive, but with the pure weight of past sins. The journey is a punishment disguised as salvation. The deeper into the jungle they go, the more each man is stripped away of identity, ideology, and hope. Now what remains is pure existential being, survival without purpose. The land is now ravaged by poverty, corporations exploit the soil, time itself seems suspended. Now these men are not living, they are waiting to die. When an oil well explodes miles away, the company offers them one final chance at freedom. For that, they need to drive through truckloads loaded with unstable nitroglycerine through a jungle to extinguish the fire. The slightest vibration could actually kill them instantly, so they take the job not as adventurers, but as condemned souls, choosing the manner of their execution. The trucks are not just vehicles, they are coffins in motion. In fact, the road is not a path. It is a destiny manifest. As they navigate collapsing bridges, landslides, and violent storms, Friedkin transformed physical danger into spiritual metaphor. Nature is not the enemy here. It is the fate itself, silent and all-powerful. The now iconic bridge sequence where the trucks swing like toys over the raging waters is not just one cinema's greatest action scenes. It is portrayed as a man confronting the infinite. There is no music to glorify the triumph, only wind, mud, fear, and the constant reminder that nothing is owed to us, not even survival. At its release in 1977, Sorcerer was a commercial disaster. It opened 1 month after Star Wars, and audiences rightfully rejected its bleak realism and moral ambiguity. Critics were divided. For some, they actually praised its raw authenticity. Others condemned it as too nihilistic and too humorless and too alienating. But to me, it was just too good. Many argued the film offered no one to root for, no sense of relief, no catharsis, just unrelenting despair. Now, it was accused of being needlessly grim, even self-destructive, a film which is obsessed with doom. Friedkin himself was criticized for the hubris, for abandoning conventional storytelling in favor of existential punishment. Yet beneath the criticisms lay the film's deeper truth, which is Sorcerer was not just made for comfort, it was made to confront. It showed men not as mythic heroes, but as flawed beings desperately clinging to the meaning in a world that refuses to grant it. Over time, the very qualities that alienated audiences became the reason for its resurrection. Critics and filmmakers alike begin to recognize Sorcerer as a Friedkin's masterpiece. In fact, a film that predicted a world in which geopolitical boundaries would actually dissolve, corporations would rule over nations, and individuals would be left fighting not for justice but for relevance. The Criterion 4K restoration finally allows the film's visual philosophy to be seen in full force. The dense greenery of the jungle, the sweat of the actors' faces, the thick fog and the rotten timber all rendered with startling clarity, not for aesthetic beauty, but to heighten the sense of entrapment. The grain of the film is preserved, reminding us of its analog soul. The 4K detail does not make us feel safer. In fact, it makes us more danger about the intimate and the existential dread, which is more personal. The packaging itself reflects the intention. The 4K Criterion edition features artwork that captures the essence of inevitability. Ethan Hunt is nowhere here, but only faceless desperation that remains. The disc is accompanied by essays that frame the films as a critical turning point in cinematic history, a film that destroyed the audience in its own time and that resurrected as prophecy in ours. Today, Sorcerer stands as a mirror to our era. In a world defined by global displacement, collapsing institutions, and systems ruled by profit and humanity, Friedkin's vision feels less of a story and more like a warning. The jungle is no longer a distant land. In fact, it is a modern world itself, where survival is not guaranteed, morality has no reward, and destiny is indifferent. The film ends not with triumph, but with the quiet truth that fate always completes its work. The mission was never about victory, it was about endurance. Sorcerer asks, what does it mean to be alive when the universe offers no answers? In fact, it replies with haunting and unforgettable about the humanity's last act, which is not to conquer, but to persist. Sorcerer endures today not because it entertains, but it's because it dares to strip away this illusion and reveal the truth beneath, that life is a mission without promise, and yet we move forward. Now, this movie is a must-watch.